Hello everyone, and thank you for watching this Congruent Lives production on behalf of the Fullerton Joint Union High School District. Today we're going to be talking about encouraging social awareness. Before we get started, let me briefly introduce myself. My name is Alex Felt. I'm a marriage and family therapist, and I'm going to teach you today about social awareness and how you can develop it as a skill to achieve your wildest dreams. So let's get started. Social awareness can be defined as the ability to understand what others are going through, also known as empathy. This can be reflective in a person's social skills and ability to get along with other people. Reflective listening is a skill you can use to improve your social awareness and help others feel heard and supported. Reflective listening is a two-step strategy that demonstrates to others the ability to empathize. In order for you to practice reflective listening, first listen and try to understand exactly what is being said, and second, repeat the idea back to them. For example, when a friend says, "I feel the pressure my family puts me under is overwhelming. They won't give me any freedom," you can respond with, "It sounds like your family puts you under a lot of pressure. That sounds really hard." In that scenario, you're showing your friend you understand what they're going through, and because of that, you're supporting them. That's what support looks like. You may have seen the movie Inside Out, and in my opinion, it's a fabulous movie that shows a lot of what we're talking about today. In this picture, in the accompanying clip, Sadness uses reflective listening to support her friend Bing Bong, who's going through a loss. If you like, you can watch the video in the description. People often don't use a reflective listening or supportive approach in favor of a more direct advice-oriented or critical approach. Advice, when given too soon, can feel minimizing for a person. It's almost like you're saying, "Why don't you just get over it?" Criticism, on the other hand, involves putting in a harsh message, often implying that the person isn't good enough. In the example, a parent is saying, "Why haven't you cleaned your room? What are you thinking?" And that can make the receiver feel like maybe there's something wrong with them. And now it's time to play everyone's favorite game show, Reflection, Advice, or Criticism. Reflection, Advice, or Criticism is the only game show where if you answer all the questions correctly, you still get absolutely nothing. In this game, I'll read a passage, and you have to determine if it appears given reflection, advice, or criticism. Scenario 1. Carlos is dealing with test-taking anxiety and worries about grades and what his parents will think. Carlos' parents are teachers and thus put a high priority on his grades. Carlos talks to his best friend about his anxiety for the test, and his friend tells him he should exercise more, and that should help with the anxiety. Is this reflection, advice, or criticism? I'll give you a minute to think about it. This scenario is clearly advice giving. Instead of reflecting what Carlos is feeling, the best friend instead jumps to how Carlos can fix the problem. And this can often come across to the receiver sort of like, "I don't want to deal with your problems." That being said, advice isn't always a bad thing. Sometimes people need to be heard out first, and then you can ask a question like, "Hey, are you looking for advice or any thoughts on what you would want to do?" And oftentimes advice can be helpful. Sally is dealing with her parents' divorce. She goes to her mother wanting to talk about her anger and sadness that the marriage is ending, and her mother tells her that she needs to buck up and that she needs to stop being so upset because your family needs you right now. Is this reflection, advice, or criticism? This scenario is clearly criticism, where Sally's mother sends her a message like, "How you feel is not important to me." This can leave Sally feeling alone and unsupported in her family, where she probably needs the support the most. Scott is dealing with anger at school. It tends to come up when he's asked to do something or when he feels disrespected. Scott goes to his best friend Pablo and talks to him about the anger. Pablo listens to him and says, "It sounds like you're going through a lot. That must be really tough." Is this reflection, advice, or criticism? It's probably an easy one. This is the last one that's available, and it's a reflection. In this scenario, Pablo is clearly using the reflective listening steps we talked about earlier to first hear his friend out and then reflect what he's going through. People often feel supported after conversations like this, and it can make Scott more comfortable being real around Pablo. Like he won't be judged or anything like that. This has been a presentation of Congruent Lives Inc. Thank you everyone for watching. If you would like to know more, there's information and links in the description.